Hello, change makers, and welcome to another LinkedIn Live session for the Empower Hour for Change Makers. I'm here with the incredible, inspiring, and pivoting Rachel Kelly from Make Lemonade. Really thrilled and honored to have you today to talk about the power of pivot and of pivoting, I should say, and how I'd love to just hear all about your story, about how you went from being this incredible co-working space owner for women, really change making from where you started in your career. Of course, we don't have many co-working spaces for women, and you're a pioneer in that. So, Rachel, really thrilled to have you, and loving the opportunity to interview you about how you went from being the owner of a co-working space to now a florist, an event florist. So maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey, and we'll dive into supporting others that are going to potentially be listening to this live or on our podcast, and so we can all learn from each other. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Lee. What a beautiful introduction. And I am really honored to be part of this discussion. As you've already kind of set the stage, I used to have a co-working space. I opened that in 2017, which feels like a million years ago now, because we've lived through a lot since then. I'm excited to discuss how I went from co-working space owner, a co-working space for women in business, to now being a florist, which is my lovely reality today. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So we were discussing it for a few minutes before we went live, and I was saying to you how interesting your transition was, but to me, I could see the pieces coming together. I mean, I've been at your co-working space. I was actually on the CBC's event for Women's Day, and it was at your co-working studio, and beautiful space, beautiful flowers. And so as someone who sees potential in people sometimes before they even see it in themselves, I definitely get why you might have done what you did, but I'm sure that our listeners and viewers don't necessarily know how you could go from one type of career to another like that, and in such a short time and with such success so far. So tell us how it all came together.
So I guess we'll start kind of with the co-working piece, just to, I guess, set the stage and just help people understand just, I guess, this delusion that I have within me that has gotten me places. It was around 2016, actually, is when I had a job opportunity fall flat, and that was kind of my lemon. And I had been sitting on this idea of opening a co-working space for a while. And when this job opportunity went sideways, I said to myself, life has handed you a lemon. Let's make lemonade out of it. And that's how the name stuck. And then I spent about a year figuring out how to make it happen. And then I opened in September of 2017. And it was rough. Like, it was a really tough endeavor. And I really, having all of this reflection and perspective now, delusion was like one of my, I think it's like one of the core ingredients that any entrepreneur needs to have, and to have this like wild faith in yourself, along with, having some other basic fundamental understanding of cash flow and, how a business works and some basic marketing. But anyway, so I opened up in 2017. It was rough, but I finally got to where I thought, okay, things are actually working. And when I had that feeling of like, this is what I envisioned, that was February of 2020. I remember clearly walking into the office being like, this is it. And then about a couple weeks later, the friendly pandemic came and just said, okay, you've had enough of that. Like time to pivot. So pivot number one came in, where we introduced like a virtual co-working opportunity for our members and allowing other people to join us from all over Canada. And that was working out really, really well. And over the course of the next, I think it was like at least 8 months, I kept looking at my profit and loss statement and being like, I can't keep pouring in money into this co-working space. It is literally costing me to keep this open. And so I made the decision to close the co-working space. And this all sounds like a really like seamless and easy, but it was about an 8-month process just to find somebody to take over the final year of my lease and, have the right messaging to my community, yada, yada, yada. So I decided to close the space. I thought, okay, I'm going to run this online community and everything's going to be hunky dory. And about a month into running the co-working online community, I just remember being like, this isn't it. Like, I'm not feeling fulfilled. Even though it was exhausting, having the physical co-working space,
Right.
especially during the pandemic, like that really took a lot out of me. I thought, oh, I've simplified, like things should be better, but I just wasn't feeling that. And I felt all of this like wild guilt too. Like I've built this. I should be happy that this is where I am. But I was just like, something isn't right. And I had remembered a couple months ago, or a couple months prior, I had read an article in Toronto Life about a woman who quit her corporate TD banking job to work in a florist shop. And the story really stuck with me. And I thought, I'm going to try a few flower workshops just for fun, just as a way to get my hands busy. I have a fine arts degree. I had, graduated from art school it's probably 12 years now ago. And I just remember thinking like, I haven't been using my hands that much. I've been typing away, doing everything online in this digital world. And I was like, this sounds fun. I went to one, I really liked it. I went to another workshop, I really liked it. I looked for a bit more formal floristry education, and I found this place called the Toronto Flower School. It was a 20-hour certification program. You could take it over the course of 4 Saturdays in a row. And I thought, if the worst thing that comes out of this is that I learn more about flowers and I spend 4 Saturdays playing with flowers, then that sounds like a win to me. So I ended up just like loving it and really falling in love with it. And during that, kind of just feeling this tug of like, I'm not that excited about what I'm doing in my day-to-day business anymore. And I was really looking forward to those Saturdays. And so I started to share with my community, this is what I've been doing. I think this might be act number 3 of my business, Make Lemonade. Like this seems totally out of left field, but the response was so positive from my community. And it was so positive, in fact, that some of my members asked me if I would do their flowers for the wedding before I even had shared any of the work I could do. And I thought, wow, like if people can have this much blind trust in me, like I had already, earned their trust with what I had done in the business previous, but, they haven't even seen this. But I was like, if they can trust me this much here, like then I need to continue to trust myself about, making these next steps. And so, yeah, one thing led to another. And that was in May of 2022. And here we are in the middle of 2024 already. And wow. I've been full-time floristry for a year now.
Wow.
And that brings me
to okay. So what's your favorite flower?
That's the hardest question to answer because there's just so many beautiful flowers. And I feel like, being a florist and having access to so many different wholesaler varieties, I'm learning about new florals all the time. So I can't say it changes all the time.
All right. No problem. Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about that transition and the support that you got throughout the process, and that maybe a sign of your members saying, "Hey, can you help me with floral arrangements and whatnot?" So it sounded like the universe was giving you some signs, but it's not just the universe, right? Because we can't just
Mhm.
put our live decisions into fate alone. What was your mindset and your
Mm.
ability to manage risk that would give you the courage to follow this new path?
Mm. That's a great question. I
Nice.
think something that really stuck out for me was, um, I mean, the pandemic was so difficult. It was difficult for so many people on so many different ranges. And small business owners, of course, took a huge hit as well. And so
Yeah.
I was in a very financially messy place. Let's just say that my business was. And I remember something that had stuck out was in the floristry school. They had a previous member who had come and done a little talk for the students. And she said, there is serious money to be made in the floral industry. And I grabbed onto that and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to turn this ship around. And like, I will say, like, my mindset was really like, it wasn't only personally driven because I was like, I just need to do something different. I want to be able to do something creative, but I need to be making more money. My business needs more money. And that is something that really stuck out to me. And I feel like what was very difficult running a co-working space and an online co-working membership was having, even though it was a membership based business, having memberships that were starting at $30 a month. As exciting as it was to get a new member join the community, it was
Mm-hmm.
just a drop in the bucket. Whereas I was feeling so much more excitement from getting some clients who were willing to spend a couple $1,000s on flowers. And I remember in a couple of my first events that I had run, I was like, this is amazing to me. I am getting paid to do arts and crafts. And it was so rewarding and it just felt wonderful. And don't get me wrong, it is a very physically laborious process to do florals and it is messy and there's a lot of grunt work in very early mornings, but
Mhm.
that satisfaction I felt, it really got me excited. And to be able to step away from having to show up on a regular basis and have something that was always happening all the time, which in some business cases it makes so much sense, but for me, I was just getting so exhausted by it. And so to be able to have a project, plan for it, get excited for it, and then go see you later when the project was done, was just it's been such a breath of fresh air. So my mindset, I think, was really, like I said, financially driven for sure, but there was just like this refreshing excitement, newness to everything that I've been doing since.
Mhm. So profitable pivot, which
Yes,
is
yes.
important, right? Yeah, because,
Yeah.
like sometimes women entrepreneurs get a bad rap of not being really good with figuring out the profit side of business or not taking
Mhm.
or not believing in themselves enough to go for opportunities unless they feel that they're 100% qualified.
Mhm.
And so did you have imposter syndrome or
Mhm.
years in those early, I'm assuming you're probably over it now because you have some success under your belt, but in the early days, how did
Mhm.
you cope with, did you question whether or not you were doing the right thing?
Mm. So it's interesting. Like when I first started the co working space, I felt like I truly properly understood what anxiety was. I had never really experienced it properly
Okay.
beforehand. And I learned very quickly that there is a different scent to working out sweat versus stress sweat. And I remember learning about imposter syndrome in the early days of opening Make Lemonade. And throughout the years, I had learned how to deal with it and learned it shows up in different ways. And it was
Mhm.
so interesting as I got more and more into floristry. It's like I get this like bit of a delusion that kind of, okay, inspires me. Let's move forward. And then you see someone else who has 10 years more experience than you and going, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And
Mhm.
I found some of the most interesting times when, and it's funny, I can say interesting now, during the time it was
Sure.
not, is when I've gone to pick up flowers and I've already done my list. This is what I need to get. Here's my schedule for the day, and I'll
Right.
go to the floral wholesalers, pick up my flowers, be able to purchase it under budget, and then I'm driving back, and all of a sudden, the imposter syndrome is like, "But did you get enough?" And then I rationalize to myself, yes, I have enough. This is the thing. But did you figure this out? And I found, and then, then I try to have the conversation back. Yes, I did. Here's why. And I've just, and throughout the time since I've started floristry, I've just been kind of amazed how imposter syndrome and self-doubt will find the cracks no matter what. You can meditate and go to therapy all the time and
Mhm.
do all the self-care, but self-doubt will always find a way to creep in. I've learned throughout the years that I can overcome it a little bit faster. Okay, let me look into my toolbox and figure out ways that I can help myself combat with this. But I think, just the way grief is something that we learn to live with, I think imposter syndrome and self doubt are other things that we learn how to not go, okay, I can totally overcome this and it's never going to be a problem. That's not real life. We grow
Mhm.
and evolve and things change. And we just keep adding to our toolbox of how to deal with these things. So to answer your question, yes, self-doubt, it still creeps in. Uh,
Mhm.
it's a I don't know what the right word is other than these descriptions of like, it ebbs and flows. It gets bigger
Mhm.
and smaller. And that's part of life. And I think being an entrepreneur, sometimes it's just extra amplified.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And uh, the rate well, excuse me, recently I've been learning to reframe imposter syndrome to be practice syndrome. And it's like we're
Mm,
practicing new skills, we're learning new things about ourselves, uh
mhm,
we're evolving in our careers, and so it's natural to feel a bit nervous, or like, I like that you're like second guessing, oh, do I have enough flowers, or have I thought this through? I think that's a natural kind of self-talk
mhm,
conversation to have internally. And as long as you keep it, if as long as you keep it in a way that allows you to be like, yeah, it's okay for me to have this thought, and now I can just reassure myself that I've got this.
mhm,
And if I don't, that's okay too. I have lived through many other challenging experiences. I'll live through this too.
mhm,
So I do believe that this sense of imposter syndrome isn't really the way one would think it is. I think it's just you're you're just evolving, and that comes with some growing pains. And
mhm,
I think that you've obviously clearly worked through those and continue to, just like we all do.
mhm.
That's great. I'm really glad to hear that you're able to positively reframe or encourage yourself that it's going to be okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So tell me more about, how did you market your new transformation?
Mhm,
Because it sounds like you were able to use the assets and the community to your advantage. So
mhm,
through how you were able to utilize what you'd already accomplished in the
mhm.
past, and incorporate that into your, and by the way, I've heard from others that you, and I actually subscribed to it after someone told me how amazing your newsletters were. So I went
Wow.
and I subscribed to your newsletters. This was a long time ago, and I was like, yeah, these are really good.
That is such a compliment. I do love writing the newsletter. I feel like everybody has a love-hate relationship with their own newsletter. Maybe right now I'm a bit of like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing with it, but it always ends up working. So thank you. Um, but about the marketing, I just remember I was just like, I'm not going to give up the name Make Lemonade. It is so good. It's so
Mhm,
good. And what's so beautiful about the name Make Lemonade is it can support me for whatever pivot or change I decide to go
mhm.
on. And I think that's something that I really realized when I decided to go into floristry was understanding that the name Make Lemonade was a lot bigger than whatever I'm currently doing, and it can support me throughout all of the pivots moving forward. Um, so that was kind of number one. And I was like, well, I've already like I don't know, just thinking about like my business number, my HST, and like everything. I was like, it's all under Make Lemonade. It's going to be, it's sure it's exciting to claim a new domain and, do all of this, but like, I've spent so much time, money, and energy getting Make Lemonade, the name, the brand, where it is today. Why would I start from zero again? Let's
Mhm.
just leverage what I have here and, like let's just tell the story of pivoting. And I don't even want to say tell the story of pivoting was like that's part of my strategic marketing plan. That was just something that just sort of naturally happened. Because I really remember realizing, okay, I've had this business community for X number of years now. And the advice I would always share with people is like, you have to take these wild chances on yourself. You have to, tell people about what's going on, let people know about the human behind the brand.
Mhm.
And when I first started Make Lemonade, I didn't want anyone to know who I was because I was afraid. I was very nervous. But once I started to tell people and let people know, hey, it's me running the Make Lemonade brand, I found that's when people were more excited about it. And when it came time to being like, okay, I got to be honest about this floristry thing and where I'm going, I was like, I have to follow the own advice that I've been telling everybody else. Like, take these wild chances, do something a little bit different, like throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what's going to stick. So when it came to marketing, like it was like just tell the story and like have this like delusional faith that it's going to work out. And I mean, we hear this the saying, it all works out in the end. And if it's not working out, it just means it's not the end. So that's something that I've always kind of clung on to. Um, so yeah, that was my marketing plan during the time was like stick to the name, like keep it, like use the connections I already have, tell people, like just tell people about what is going on, and continue just doing my thing and continue to make great work that people want me to create great work for them too.
Yeah, wow, that is really relatable. I know myself, I've had to pivot several times. I've gone back to work for small periods of time to a traditional workplace to do contracts, always kind of wondering, oh, am I going to, do I want to have a full time job with benefits or do I want to continue on the entrepreneurial track? And what I've kind of landed on now is that if I can find the right employer, I can do both. And so now I
Mhm.
teach at York, and that's my gig twice a week. And I have dabbled with a few startups. I was involved in a mindfulness one and love doing that. And everything that I've gotten involved in has sort of come with me as I progress and grow my brand, in the sense that whatever experience I've had, I find really helps me with what I'm doing in the present. So I
Mhm.
went back to my OG roots of Women in Biz Network. I admit I started to sort of neglect it because I felt that, well, for one, I was investing into a lot of education. I've really felt that I needed to pivot when I realized how impactful the pandemic had hit my business. So the last several years have been spent on upgrading my qualifications to be able to teach, and yeah, found out that I have a real love and passion for teaching. And again, that transferable skill came from my roots of women in biz, because I had been running
Mhm.
conferences and events and supporting women through facilitation and developing curriculum for different programs. So it was, while it was a scary transition, it was also something that I did have some familiarity with,
Mhm.
and gave me the confidence to go into teaching um, at the university level. So um, I think that your story and my story hopefully will inspire others to take the
Mhm.
chance to follow their heart and their mind.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, like, I think having like I remember going through this phase of being like, I don't really know what I'm where I'm going. I don't know exactly. And I just know, like, I remember having this very vivid realization that this is the messy middle. Like, I'm just
Uh,
in it. And like, what's so hard about being there is like, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but you can't see it. You're still in the dark. But I think for anybody who's listening to this, whether you are thinking of a career change or pivoting your business, or you just are in a place of you're like, I don't know where I'm going, is to have this confidence and this understanding that where you're at is something that will be transferable in the future too. Wherever you're at right now, and even what you've done in the past, will all help you move forward into the future as well.
mhm.
You know, everything we do, it's not for nothing. We are building blocks all the time towards our future, whether we acknowledge it or not.
You are so correct in that everything happens for a reason, and we're always learning from the challenges that we face, the opportunities. Sometimes opportunities land on us and we're not sure that we're ready for it, but it's worth continuing
Mm,
to invest in those feelings that you have, that there's something more. I should be doing
mhm.
something more with my life.
Yeah.
Uh, because it is true. I mean, I'm a lot older than you. I just turned 50, so I'm at a different stage.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a year now. Actually, I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm 51. Forgot. I turned 51 May 20th. So I can't say I'm 50 anymore. But what I did learn from turning 50 is that, when you look at, I used to think 50 was so old. And now that I am that age, I feel that I have the most amount of energy and positivity
Mm,
and hope for the future. And I also realize that the future is like today, like do it
yeah.
now, because you don't
Yeah.
know what you might be facing tomorrow. So
Mhm.
seize the day, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least I feel that. You talked about the Make Lemonade brand, and how that was, it made a lot of sense to continue with that, because I was checking out your website. You've gotten lots of media recognition.
Mhm.
You probably invested a lot of time and energy and money into your website. Um,
Mhm.
I could see that would make a lot of sense to continue with that. How did you, or did you have to adjust your personal brand?
Mm.
Did you even did you invest in personal branding
Mm-mm.
when you started your first business, the
Mm.
co-working space? Did you make yourself a part of the brand?
Mm. That's a great question. And I think the term personal brand is something I've always had a hard time with. Um, and I remember, especially when I started in 2017, I was so naive to all business jargon. Let's just
Mhm.
say, even what is a brand. integrating who I was and my story was something that did come out pretty quickly when I started Make Lemonade. I did share at the beginning, okay, I hid behind the brand for a couple of months until it was like, well, if you're going to come to the co-working space, you're going to meet me and figure out who I am.
Mhm.
So anyways, I think over time, like I've had a bit of a hard time of going, who's Rachel Kelly, who's Make Lemonade? You know, it is very, very intertwined. And I think once I kind of realized like Make Lemonade and, you know, like searching, like it's to me, the Make Lemonade brand is not just about, you know, turning sour situations sweet, but, you know, like searching for something that is richer to, you know, kind of say, I want something a little bit more than whatever the status quo is. And the truth is like any sort of motto or saying or jargon that has come out of the Make Lemonade brand is something that has come from my heart.
Right.
So, you know, in kind of saying that, that is like that's part of the personal brand. And I think for me, like I remember, you know, having the co-working space, I want, like, if I'm going to run into somebody down the street who is either a member or not a member, I'm going to treat them the same way as if they were going to come into my co-working space, because I'm an ambassador of this brand. Just as, you know, anybody that I hired, I expect them to, you know, be the same way on the inside as they are on the outside.
Mhm.
So that's a bit why I say like I have a hard time kind of defining what's the personal brand, what's the business brand, because it is very interconnected. And I think that's why it's important to have, you know, brand values and personal values and hope that they align. Of
Mhm.
course, you know, we have personal lives too. We have other things, and, you know, some of it is shared on the internet and some of it is not. But at the end of the day, like the business values align with my own personal values. On a personal side, I have more things going on than just my business, but my business is a reflection of who I am.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about how you transitioned. I'm just making sure that we cover some of these important areas. We've talked about mindset required to make a significant career choice, uh, and we talked about your passion, the fact that you see your job like is very challenging, like you said. So it's not all sunshine and flowers. But it's a lot of hard work and early mornings, as you mentioned. But you you had, like, you probably played upon your fine arts in your creativity, and now, like you said, you get to make arts and crafts and
Mhm.
money from that. So that's really cool. uh so let me just see if there's anything else that I should be asking you specifically that I said that we would cover. Yeah, so the one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, what is the role of continuous learning and skill development in a successful career? What would you say?
Mm. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure, of course. So what do you think the role of continuous learning and skill development is for business or
Mhm.
a successful career?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, just for like it's interchangeable. It's not just about your successful business and your successful career. It's for a successful and fulfilling life too. I think, you know, especially as a small business owner, and I think so many other entrepreneurs can relate to this, that it is not just a you go to work, you hang up your hat and you go. This is a lifestyle sort of thing. You decide to take a chance on yourself like this. So when it comes to continuing education, whether it's, you know, redefining your craft and making it better so that you can create better work for your clients, or, you know, um, advancing your leadership skills so you can manage a team better. This is not something that's going to just help you further in your career, but also make you a better human being and enrich your life further. And I think it is so important to have that, you know, open growth mindset sort of attitude that nothing is ever set in stone and one and done and that's it. You know, I think back to like, when I started my business, and I think of how the first iteration of the website and what I would share on Instagram and whatnot. And, I think we can all think back to those things that we've done in the past and just cringe and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's what I was thinking. But at that time, that's what we knew.
Mhm.
And we were proud of it in the moment. And then we learn, we grow, we evolve, and we change. And, we share that. So I think it's an absolute necessity to just, continue to learn and add to your skills. It's kind of just adding to that toolkit, whether it's for your personal self-care or for your business development. We keep advancing so that we can be better business owners, better humans, and enjoy our life better.
Wow, that's a really great way of describing your goals in terms of education and skill development, is that it's not just about you as a business owner, but you transforming as a human.
Mhm.
I really like that. That's something that I'm definitely investing in for the second part of my life, because the quality of my relationship with others and with myself is really
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
So understanding, a big thing that I'm really obsessed with right now is understanding the impact of stress
Mhm. Mhm.
on our bodies and how we manifest that in our bodies.
Mhm.
I've been studying mindfulness and stress reduction. Um, and it's funny. I do believe that nature and flowers
Mhm.
are an important part of having a full life experience.
Mhm.
So now that you're working with flowers every day, how has that changed your day-to-day
Yeah.
life in terms
That's
of your well-being?
I love that question. That was a beautiful transition. And, I just want to just quickly add on the education portion too, whether it's formal education or it's a podcast or a self-help book or even a fictional book that talks about a specific topic. These are all ways to learn and grow. And I just want the listeners to feel encouraged and not discouraged that, okay, now I need to go get an MBA to, advance my business career. Um, but in terms of how my life has changed, and I really will say for the better for me, since working with flowers, and I don't know if it's specifically working with flowers or if it's just like granting myself the permission to have a creative career. Has really done wonders for me. Number one, I feel like something that has been so important has actually been working with a smaller client list. I've at one point, within a year, I would have about 200 members within my community. And that is like impossible for me to even remember the name of every single member. And,
Mhm.
and that's just within 1 year span. So over the years, I've met so many wonderful business owners, but I found myself even today, sometimes I'll run into someone and they'll go, oh, I came to your space. And in my mind, I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm sure I've met you and I'm sure we had a great conversation, but it was just that's so much information for one person to hold. And I didn't realize that at the time that it's like you can almost have too much of a good thing. Like it was a lot of information that I was currently processing. So number one, dealing with a smaller client base has been something that I think has been really great for my nervous system,
Mm.
but also being able to focus on this project, whatever event it is that I have coming up, and going, okay, this is the project that I have coming up this week. And that's all we have to focus on. And when it's time to pick up the flowers and process the flowers and design, I can't be on my computer. I don't have time to go on my devices, sure, to put some music on or check a quick odd email. But for the most part, the work and, the craft that needs to be done is not on my laptop. So my screen time has like wildly reduced. I actually remember when I remember dreaming up what I wanted to do with my career, and this was actually before I opened Make Lemonade. I had this thought in my mind where I was like, I don't want my work to be laptop dependent. I was very vivid about that. And I opened up the co-working space and I got to meet so many people. And I was like, I love talking to people. I love being able to interact. And that was wonderful. And the pandemic hit. And then all of a sudden, everything was online. And I was having like 10 Zoom calls a day. Like, just my eyes were like donuts, like completely glazed over with like the amount of digital interaction I was having. And then flash forward to where I am now. A couple weeks ago, I had this notification on my computer. My computer never tells me about my screen time, but for whatever reason, it did tell me. And it said that in the entire week, I had spent 4 hours on my laptop. And I was like, wow, that's got to be some sort of record for laptop owners. Of course, that doesn't account for my phone time. But for me, I thought, wow, like I remember wanting this, like, probably close to 10 years ago. And here I am now finally realizing this. And that's not to say every week I'm spending only 4 hours on my laptop.
Yeah.
There's still digital parts of my business that I need to do. But I think overall for me, like I am a happier, healthier, well-fed, more slept human being because of the career switch that I've made.
Wow, that is super cool. I love hearing that story. It's so inspiring to me. And I relate to what you were saying about seeing people who had spent time with you. And, because I started my business in 2010, and you can imagine the amount of people that I've met over the
Yeah.
years who say, "Oh yeah, I met you," or "I attended your conference," or "I was a member of your community." And this is what happened because of being
Mhm.
exposed to the community and the learnings that and the mentorship that we were able to provide. And it's pretty cool to see that you've had an impact in people's lives. But I do agree with you. It's nice when you can scale back to have a life that,
Yeah.
like your client list. Now you can really get to know those individuals, and I'm sure you'll get lots of repeat business with them.
Mhm.
So that's really nice to hear that
Mhm.
it's had a positive impact on your life.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're in this busy stages because you've been only at this for a couple of years. So what do you do now with the community aspect? Is that still
Mm-mm.
anyway, or?
I made the decision. This was so it was at the end of 2022 when
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to understand my timelines. Yes, at the end of 2022, when I was like, I can't keep running this online community. I mean, I had these realizations, I would say at the end of 2021, I closed the co-working space. I was going, I don't know if I'm entirely happy with this. And then it took me about a year of kind of processing. And then I went to the floristry school and just was like, I just don't know. So it was the end of 2022 when I decided to make the announcement. I'm going to close the co-working space. It took a couple of months to actually do that because I had to honor the year-long memberships that I had. So it was in April of 2023 when I decided this is the last month, or that's when the last month was going to wrap up, which brought us to here that I'm officially a full year doing it full time. And that's, yeah. And I will say, like, there isn't much of a community aspect anymore, aside from, connecting with people online, whether it's through my newsletter or Instagram. I've thought about, oh, maybe it would be cool to gather some people together and do a little co-working day or something like that. But the truth is I'm just like, I don't know if I have this energy to do this right now.
Mhm.
And sometimes you don't need to be the person who's at the beginning making the things happen. And I think
Mhm.
I had been the one who was the community organizer for such a long time. And one of the reasons why I decided to create Make Lemonade is because I couldn't see a community that was kind of reflected the way that of a community that I wanted to be a part of. And I think
Right.
that's why a lot of us create these things. Um,
Sure.
But I've had these, realizations that, maybe sometimes it's just nice to just be a community member instead of being a community organizer. And I've really tried to lean into just joining other communities and being part of a conversation instead of steering a conversation.
I saw your LinkedIn message asking for referrals for creative
Yeah.
communities, and I was laughing
Yes.
because someone posted a message like saying, "Oh, you're making me want to, start it myself. That's such a good idea." And I'm like, the same thing popped into my head.
Yes. The
So
thing
once
has
in
popped into my head too. There's
yeah.
some, like, I would just really love to be able to learn from other people who have fulfilling careers as artists, as creatives, as dancers, just people who are living a fulfilling creative career. I want to hear more of that advice. And as much as I love my business communities and women in business, in particular business communities, I don't always want to hear from the digital creators. I want to hear someone who's taken a paintbrush and has made a career out of that.
Yes, yes. I think that's a great thing to aspire to be a part of. I think we all
Mhm.
need, yeah, because I also think artists, and I never actually thought of myself as an artist until recently, but I have to create. Like
Mhm.
it's like I'm always thinking about like things that I want to create. And I realize now that being around other people who have that,
Mhm.
almost like an obsession that you just
Mhm.
need to do it, and we all have different obsessions about what we want to create.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think bringing creatives together is a great idea. So you've planted a seed in me too. So
We'll wait
yeah,
for someone else to make it happen.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, we are getting close to the end of the hour, and we always like to wrap up our empowering conversations with, three things that you feel that you could share as next steps for
Mhm.
um, our listeners to be able to kind of take some action items that they can establish in the next couple of weeks. So if they're thinking, if maybe they were thinking that this was something that they wanted to do, pivot in their career, and now they're listening to this live and they're inspired by what you've shared, what are three things that they can do to
Mhm.
get started?
Okay. Um, that's a great question. So this is specifically for people thinking about pivoting and making a
Yeah.
change.
Mhm.
Um,
And I like
I
that.
would
Sorry, I like to say the one segue that I think you made, which was really cool, is that it could be changing their business direction. So they could be a business owner. It could be changing careers or industries, going back to school, whatever that might look
Mhm.
like to them. So if that
Yeah.
gives you any inspiration for
Yeah.
your three ideas for them.
I think number one is this isn't really action, but it's just a confirmation. Is I think, like, really listen to that inner dialogue that's happening. Our intuition is a lot more powerful than I think sometimes we give it credit for. But if there is a nudge that's pulling at you, listen to it, because it's there for a reason. I think about times of when, I haven't acted on something maybe sooner than I've kind of felt this little reminder, this little nudge happening at me. And I remember when I had this feeling about, I think I got to close the online community, being like, oh man, I don't want to admit that, but having that realization. So I would encourage people who, if you're feeling this tug, don't ignore it, explore it, and see what that means for you. That may mean I need a total career change, or it may just mean that you want to shift positions within the company that you're currently at, or you may think, okay, now I want to become a full-time artist, when really it's maybe you just need to carve out more time for creativity in your regular life. I think so. That's number one, is like explore what the nudge inside of you is saying. Number two, maybe this is more of an action action item is if you have decided, okay, I do want to do some sort of change, and you've admitted that, is to seek some advice, whether it is from other people who are doing what you think you want to do, or if you're not sure what you want to do, is to ask other people for advice. I worked with an amazing career coach named Sarah Vermont of Careergasm. She's
Yep, no,
wonderful, and she's in the Toronto, entrepreneur community. She's just uh, she really helped me. So whether speaking to Sarah or someone like her as well, but I think maybe it's just seek outside counsel, talk to somebody else as well, and don't keep these ideas bottled inside. Um, and then what could be my third piece of advice for someone thinking of changing or pivoting? I think it is so easy when we get a spark of an idea to just go full force,
mhm.
but I think it is so important to listen to your body. What else do you need to? I think it is so easy to get so wrapped into an idea and move, full force. And you spend every waking hour putting all of your energy into something, but none of it is sustainable if we don't take care of ourselves. So when you are thinking about these changes, make sure to integrate how you're taking care of yourself, because it's a quick way to get to burnout when we go full steam ahead and we don't integrate ourselves, like our own personal care into it. Nothing is going to work if we don't work. So I think, having a career change or a pivot opportunity is also a perfect opportunity to reintegrate. How do you take care of yourself too?
Oh, that's really good. It's a good reminder for me because right now I've been rebuilding the platforms on Women in Biz, and I'm I'm really excited by like how it's transforming, and it's been incredible. I like putting things together, like creating communities. I love that, but I have to discipline myself that I don't have to do it all in one day or one week or
Mhm.
1 month or even 1 year, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what plans are for. Create a plan and don't get swept up into the moment, and because something else will suffer, like you said, either your
It's
health,
so
your
true.
your your sleep, other things, and we have to prioritize a balanced approach to whatever you're building so that, as you said, it is sustainable. That's really important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's give your business a little bit of promotion here. So who's your ideal client, and
Mhm.
where can they find more to to get your flower making services?
Mhm. So my ideal clients are primarily event planners. I do weddings, but I mostly do more so brand events and activations and work with corporate clients, whether that's for some sort of event or a corporate workshop as well. So though that's my ideal client is event planners or someone who's in a community management position. If you are getting married, please talk to me too. I would love to do your wedding florals.
Okay.
You can find more about me and the services I offer at makelemonade.ca. And I'm on Instagram at Make Lemonade Co.
Awesome. Well,
Mm.
I look, if I need flowers anytime in the future, I will definitely be calling upon you. So thank you for empowering my hour and empowering our community as well. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a bit better. And I think the advice you shared was spot on. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lee. It was really great to chat with you, get to know you more as well, and share more about the Make Lemonade story with you and your community too.
That's great. All right. Well, as those of you who know, we're a live show every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are interested in learning more about Rachel's story, have more questions to ask, feel free to pop your questions into the Facebook and LinkedIn live chat, and we'll certainly get to answering those questions so that we can continue to empower you. And we will be back again next Thursday. Thanks, everyone.
Beautiful.